Basically, what I'll be presenting is a summary of our research findings. And so before I do that, let me use this opportunity to um, thank Professor Adogo for working so hard in partnership with NIQS Foundation, to organize this particular conference. And so I share a brief, interesting story how we met. As mentioned earlier, from the person from the British Council, this is a partnership project, and before it can be successful, you can secure the grant. You need a partner from some selected countries, including Nigeria. And so at the time, I was looking for a partner, and I happened to have a PhD student I'm currently supervising who is from Nigeria. And so I discussed with him, and he said, "Oh, I know someone, a professor who was the external examiner for his MSc dissertation." And so that was how I got in contact with Professor. And working with her has been so exciting, easy to work with, and our kind of friendship and relationship with respect to this project has been very smooth. Again, let me use this opportunity to thank the NIQS Foundation for coming in. So they serve as a partner, and so without them we wouldn't be here today. So madam, we are really grateful to you, and hopefully we look forward to working with you in future on similar projects. All right, so let me proceed now to our project. And so basically our project seeks to bring more women into the construction industry, and so that is all the project is about. How can we bring more women into the construction industry? And particularly we are looking at women graduates, and so this is the take-home message. How do we do that? And so so this is the topic. It's a long one, but just don't worry about the length of it. The focus is bringing more women graduates into the construction industry, and not just bringing them, but bringing them, supporting and retaining them. Once they are attracted, they join, and they are not supported, they will leave, as we have found out. And so right, I have already introduced this before, so we have two leads, Professor and myself. So in this presentation, it's going to be brief. It wouldn't take more than an hour as I've been allocated. So the background of our research, the aim and objectives, our research approach and findings up to this stage. So let me give you some statistics from the UK context. And so this is the context of our study. In the United Kingdom, we have few women who are in the industry, and so there are different estimates, and so the percentages range between 12 and 15% of the professional workforce. All right, so we have different sources, but this is the percentage. Now, less than 1% of the workforce, are working on site are women, and less than 5% of those in the position of executive board of the top 30 contractor organizations in the United Kingdom are women. And so this is the statistic. Now, a survey was conducted in 2017, and out of 1,000 women who were surveyed between the ages of 16 and 25, only 13% would even consider a career in the construction industry. All right, and so this is the damning statistics. Now, for the UK construction industry, on a yearly basis, 36,000 new recruits are needed to address the skills shortage. And so it is not only Nigeria alone. Now, in Nigeria, we also found this when we were preparing the proposal. And so the percentage of women making up the construction professional workforce is 2.5, and so we are not sure how accurate this is, but this is what we have found, because it appears that it is difficult to find exact statistics to capture these realities, but it may even be less from what I've been told. Now, what is the common thing? The common thing here is both countries have few women in the construction industry. And so that is the common thing, and that is why this project is between the United Kingdom and Nigeria. And so we aim to understand the strategies that can be adopted to bring more women into the construction industry. And here, like I mentioned earlier, we are looking at women graduates, all right? And so we may have other women with other qualifications, but specifically we want to address the issue of women graduates. So we want to have this understanding. How can we bring more women into the industry? What are the pathways to employment? All right, so how do they get in? And so that is it. Now, the intention is to draw lessons from the UK perspective and inform strategies in the partner country. I think that comparatively, in terms of focus and effort, the UK is doing a little bit ahead. So some lessons can be drawn, from UK and even from Nigeria as well, and then we can put all these together. Now we have 5 objectives. And so basically, I wouldn't waste time here. But the first objective is that before we can bring more women graduates into the industry, we need to understand the barriers, to their entry. If they want to join the construction industry, what are the barriers they face? We need to understand that first. And then our second objective is, once they are able to join, what are the reasons why they leave? Okay, so we need to understand this. And then the third objective is, we want to have solutions to address the first 2 objectives: the barriers to entry and then the challenges once they are in the industry. And then our 4th objective is to address the issue of equality. There are many things that affect men. For example, we have unequal pay between men and women. And so men and women are doing the same job, the same, title, but the man will be making more money. Or on a monthly basis, the man receives a higher salary than the woman. These are some of the realities. And so we want to see how we can address this. So if the industry is able to address some of these issues, then it is likely that we'll be able to attract more women. And then finally, based on all that we'll be discussing, we'll be able to devise some employment pathways that women can use to join the industry. And so our research project, in terms of how we conducted this, that is what this slide is particularly talking about. And so the strategies adopted aimed at helping us to understand the challenges and the pathways available to women graduates. And so we use various methods, including questionnaire survey, interviews, workshop, which was conducted in Zaria on the 14th, and then this particular conference. And so try to present it in the form of a diagram. Maybe the projection is not too clear, but what we did was we have the project conducted in 3 stages. The first phase is addressing the first 2 objectives I mentioned earlier. Then phase 2, we use the interview method to address objectives 3 to 5. All right, and then phase 3 is what is happening now. So the workshop in Zaria on the 14th, and then the conference today. So the conference today seeks to communicate the findings we have and to have some deliberation on these findings as to how organizations within the industry, can implement some of these findings. And so just to give you a summary of what we found so far. So I've structured the presentation based on the objectives. Remember, our first objective was that we want to understand the barriers that hinder women who want to join the construction industry. And so we found 4 principal factors. And so interestingly, some of the speakers or those who gave addresses earlier highlighted some of our findings. And so it is interesting to know that we know all these things, right? But the challenge is putting in place practical measures to address these issues. All right, and so these issues may not be new, but how do we resolve them? The deliberate attempts to address them. So the first factor we found was the work-family life, conflict. All right, so we have women who need to give birth to children, who need time off work. How do they balance that? And so that is really a challenge even for our interviews, both in the UK and in Nigeria, this issue came up prominently. And so if the industry is able to support women to be able to have this, family work-life balance, that will go a long way to bring more women. So for example, if a woman takes, let's say, 6 months or 12-month maternity leave, and it is time for promotion, it wouldn't be counted against the woman, all right, because you were away for 6 months or for 8 months or whatever months. And so if the industry is able to deal with this, that will be fine. The second is the image of the construction industry. I think that if you have seen any construction magazine, what you find is a man with a hard hat and maybe some, dirty boots and something like that, all right? And so the image that is presented over and over is not attractive to many. But those who are in the construction industry know that, there are office-based roles. You can be a consultant quantity surveyor or a consultant engineer and spend little time on site. Okay, you spend much of your time in the office. Or you can be a quantity surveyor working with a bank, all right? Or a surveyor working with a bank as a valuer or whatever. And so we need to present a better image of the industry, all right, to be able to make it attractive to more women. The third is the discrimination against women. And so at some point I mentioned about the unequal pay, which is a major issue. On the same job, the same qualification, but the man is taking higher salary than the woman. All right, and so if there are other sectors that guarantee equal pay, you find even construction graduates joining these industries. And then the last point here is limited knowledge about the construction industry and the career opportunities it can offer. And so this is a major issue. So in the UK, for example, we have events which we call career fairs, where you have construction and consulting firms. They come to site, they advertise their organizations, and they recruit students. And so that kind of awareness, goes a long way to help the students to understand potential opportunities available in the construction industry. So our second objective, you want to look at, once some are able to join the industry, why do they leave? Why do they leave to join other industries? And here again, we found 4 principal factors. Some of the factors I mentioned earlier are also repeating themselves here. So the first one is the image of the industry. We think it is, energy demanding. It's not attractive in terms of the nature of the job, isn't it? So you don't want to be dirty. You don't want to be in the rain on site and all that, but that is not the issue. So we need to present the industry well. Now, the issue of work-family life balance also appears here. And here we have added another one, the absence of supporting structures. That is, women who are in the industry need to be supported. Can they have maybe flexible work schedule, when possible, so that they can balance work and family life? Can they have extended maternity leaves, all right, so that they can spend time with the family? So one of the persons mentioned about a project where you have a crèche, all right, for the women who are on that particular project. So that is also a good one. Another factor is poor career fulfillment. Now, if you take 6 months of maternity leave or 12 months and it's time for promotion and you are denied. And so most women feel that because of some of these issues, they are not able to progress as they ought to, or it takes so long for them to progress compared to the men. All right, and so they are not fulfilled in the industry, and then some decide to leave the industry. And so these are practical or issues that we identified through interviews. And so people we interviewed, those working in the industry, both in Nigeria and in UK, and they shared their experiences, why they feel that they can leave. Now, the last factor is we call that competing industries or other attractive industries. And so, for example, you might find someone say, okay, maybe I want to join the financial sector, maybe join a bank instead of working with a contractor or working with a consultant, right? And so maybe you join the bank, you may have a car within very short time, maybe a loan from the bank to get a car or something like that. The construction industry may not be able to offer that. All right, and so these are some of the reasons why women leave once they are in the industry. Now, to ensure that they are attracted and they are retained, we have come up with 3 initiatives. So it is personal level initiative, organizational level, and then industry level. So what we are trying to say is that individuals, the women graduates, they have some role to play. The organizations within the industry also have some role to play, and then the entire industry also has some role to play. So the entire industry here will include, government and government policies, right? And so at a personal level, there are programs that are targeting women, encouraging them to join. So it is the responsibility of these graduates to be aware of these programs and take advantage, right? And so being aware, if you don't take the step, then no one can be of help. Even though we are asking organizations to do more, but what about the individuals? All right, so if you read BSc Civil Engineering or Quantity Surveying or Construction Management, then you can find out what are the available opportunities, and then you take the necessary steps. So that is the personal level initiative. The second is the organizational level. So the company you work for, how can they support you? Career development programs, better recruitment practices. And so when there is recruitment, you will not be denied because you are a woman, or you will not be denied because you are newly married. And so the MDs think that in the next few months you'll be pregnant and go on maternity leave. All right, and so fair recruitment practices. These are some of the things that organizations intentionally can do to help. Now, at the industry level, we also have several factors, but for sake of time, we just highlighted a few here. So in a detailed report, we have several factors. So the industry will need a change of culture as well. How the industry is presented to young graduates or to those in school. Okay, the image that we present to them is also important. Then we can have trans-organizational collaborative initiatives, and so organizations working together to see to it that women are promoted, women are attracted to the sector. And so with these 3-level initiatives well implemented, we believe that the numbers that we want to see in the construction industry with respect to women will grow significantly. Now, our 4th objective was to promote equality. Okay, and one of the key issues I mentioned here is the unequal pay. Some earning more than others, but the same job title, the same responsibilities. Even in the UK, it is there, right, in almost every sector. And so I teach in the university, and so my title, another person, being a woman, we may have different, salaries, even though we may have the same level of experience and qualification. So it is not in this country or in other developing countries, even in developed countries, unequal pay is a major issue. And so how do we address inequality? And so we have several factors, but we highlight 2 for this. We highlight 4 for the sake of time. The first is fair support systems for women. For example, can we have return to work programs for women who go on maternity leave? They come back, even promoted, because the time they spent on maternity leave is not counted against them. Can we have such programs? All right, or when they need extended time, they are granted. And with the help of technology these days, we can have flexible, work schedules for women, even those on maternity. All right, and so our second point is flexible working hours. This will help women to balance family and work life. For example, we know we are family oriented, and so you cannot have children and say you are focusing on career to the neglect of your children and family. And so organizations should be flexible, offering hours. With the help of technology, women can work from home, they can work remotely. Okay, so these are some of the things that will help women to join the industry and to remain. The third point is provision of adequate welfare facilities at workplaces, especially on construction sites. And so if you go to a construction site, you should have welfare facilities for men and women. to make women comfortable. All right, and so someone mentioned about PPE. These are little things that organizations can provide, to make women interested in this sector. Then we have training and education in organizations on issues of discrimination, sexism, and things like that. And so we realize that for some of the discrimination against women, most of the people who are engaged are not really educated on these issues. And so I think that it will be important for organizations to, have educational programs, okay, so that people become aware and even the consequences of engaging in some of these discriminatory practices against women. Our final, objective, which addresses our aim, is we want to look at pathways. What are the ways through which women can join the industry? And so, like I mentioned from the beginning, that is our overall, aim as far as this project is concerned. And so we call those routes pathways. And so we identified 8 key pathways. So we have 1, work placement. So work placement is popular in the United Kingdom. I don't know much whether it's popular in Nigeria. And so with work placement, the UK system, the degree is 3 years straight. Okay, if you do the work placement, then the degree becomes 4 years. Right. So now, if a student wants to be on work placement, what happens is that after first year, second year, the third year, the student goes to industry. It is facilitated by the university. So the student goes to work with a company, all right? And it's not for free. They are paid. There are salary, skills for placements. Okay, so after the first 2 years, the third year, the students spend that period in industry for full 1 year. Now, what happens is that once the student is working, the university will visit twice to assess the student. Okay, so the student has a line manager. The student come back with reports and things like that. And so that year is supervised. Now the student comes back and do the final year, making the journey 4 years. Some students decide to take study abroad programs, but that is not relevant to what we are discussing here. Okay, so if we can have such, let's say in Nigeria where the work placement is paid, or at least some allowances are given to the students on placement, that will be exciting. The second is a degree apprenticeship. So the degree apprenticeship is an interesting one. It helps to address the issue of skill shortage in every sector. And so in the construction degree apprenticeships, what happens is that you have the student who is working full-time with an organization and studying at the same time for his or her degree. And so you are paid for working, and you are even sponsored, to do the degree program. Okay, so virtually just like a scholarship, I should say. And so these are some of the ways. So it's not a regular, every day you are in the classroom kind of structure. So the student is working full time, maybe comes to the university once a week to do academic work. Now we also have online programs as well. So the student will spend time online for the academic activity, maybe a few hours, in a week. Then we have employment quota system, which was mentioned earlier. Can we have organizations which have a certain number of slots for women, and say, okay, every year the company recruit, let's say 15 new graduates, then they decide to give maybe 5 or even 10 to women. All right, so these are some of the pathways through which they can get into that. So that's the employment quota system. With the help of technology too, our research found out that remote working will also be a pathway into the industry. Some of the ones are really good when it comes to IT. And so, for example, as a consultant, okay, you may not need, the person in the office every day. And so if you offer, okay, you can work maybe 3 days a week anywhere, and then a day or 2 in the office, I think that is flexible. Most women would like to take it, and it goes a long way to address the issue of family work life balance. Then we have work experience. So the work experience is where students will join a company, maybe for a short period, to gain some experience on the job. All right. And so there may be some allowances. In the UK, for example, they receive some allowances. But I think that, if you are interested, you can do that for free because you are learning anyway. That will enhance your career. Then we have the number 6, which is the Student Early Employment and Development Programs. We call that the SEED. Now, this is quite interesting, and it is in partnership with organizations. Let's say that Urban Shelter, has a need. They need someone in the area of, let's say, construction IT, for example, and they don't have that within the organization. Now, they go to Ahmadu Bello University, which offers a module or a subject in construction IT, and say we are going to sponsor 2 students from this class, to study this construction IT. Let's say it's an optional module. 2 students, we're going to sponsor them. They study that module so that when they graduate, they join our organization. And so Urban Shelter will pay some money or some sponsorship to the student to encourage the student to take that specialized kind of training. So at the end of the day, the student will join your organization. So we call that Student Early Employment and Development Program. So this cannot exist without the industry, right? Then we have the training programs as well, where maybe you need training or you need to be retrained. Today we talk of IT and so on. And so if your skills are not up to date, there are some roles that you cannot occupy. All right, so I'm sure that the way we used to work many years ago, it's not the same. And so training too offers a pathway into the industry. And finally, we have the freelance job scheme for women. And so again, when it comes to technology, in the UK, we have those who do freelancing. For example, quantity surveyors or construction managers. They are not permanently employed by any organization. So an organization needs someone to do, let's say, evaluation of work for them on a specific project. They invite you, you do it, you are paid on hourly basis. At the end of the day, you walk away. So you are not attached to any organization. You work on your own and you work as and when you feel, right? And so these are some of the pathways. So we identified 8 as far as our project is concerned to help women get into the industry. But I should emphasize that these pathways on their own do not work. They require partnership with organizations, partnership with industry, and even training institutions like universities and the polytechnics, all right, to be able to make these pathways work. And so this brings us to the end. And so our final phase, which is phase 3, included 2 activities: a workshop, which was conducted in Zaria on the 14th, and then we have the conference here, which is live now taking place. And so the essence is to report our findings and to deliberate on them as you have the discussion session later. And so that is all for me. Thank you so much.